Hey, this is Jason J. Lewis, Superman from Justice League Action, and you're watching SuperWonder Legacy.
You're strong.
I know.
Are you a sight for sore eyes?
It's nice to have someone who likes you for being you.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I am Jared. I am here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
And yes, Britt finally upgraded her damn sound.
Don't be shady already. Within
come on,
not even
Britt.
a minute in.
Oh, come on, Britt. You know I gotta be shady.
No, not to me.
Okay, that's true. That is very true. But yes, thank you. So today we are discussing quite an interesting little comparison here. We are comparing Superman and Wonder Woman to Jor-El and Lara Lor-Van. Wow. That's quite a mouthful, but all right. So for those who don't know, Jor-El and Lara are the parents of Superman. Somehow, if you don't know that, if you don't know that, I don't know what to tell you. but yeah. So when you think about it, the thing about these two is that they are like the couple that I think vacillate depending on DC. Because here's the thing, even in post-crisis, their depictions and characterizations changed vastly.
I mean, yeah, it depends on how you think of Cal Clark. You know, if you want to depict him as more Clark, you're going to essentially discredit them, you know, and belittle them. But also, if you want to just go through the, connection with the father, you're going to belittle Laura. So it all depends on the writer, what they want to emphasize. But at the same time, you know, you can tell the difference, the big difference of how they treat the Kents. The Kents can either be dead or not, but they would rather keep them alive, and they have to be this like wholesome, you know, perfect, picture perfect family, picture perfect parent. And while that is a good attribute of the Kents, you know, I would say that the elves still, their sacrifice is a little bit greater, because if it weren't for them, you wouldn't have Clark, you know. So they need a little bit more respect.
Oh, 110%. It's like, so let's start with this. All right. So here's the thing about these two. So when you deal with Jor-El and Lara, again, they've been around since near the very beginning of the character. And the thing about these two, yeah, exactly. It's like, again, I bring it up all the time, and I have a slide talking about this, but when you have too many versions depicting them as like dictators, you then have people that are fans of like the more modern Superman movies, and by modern I mean one Superman movie, saying, oh yeah, who cares about Krypton? You just ignore that and just focus on the Kents. They're the ones who are his real parents. And I go, maybe they're the parents that raised him from birth, but yeah.
But even that is, you know, it's very dependent on, because in New 52, I think Cal was 3 when he was rocketed, and then in the 1978 movie, he was, looked like he was about 5. You know, he wasn't really a baby, and it was really just post-crisis that made him, born of Earth, because John Byrne wanted him, born of American soil. So, I mean, it really depends on the writer and what status quo they're trying to emphasize on. But still, it's the fact that it still goes back to the elves, period. Because if they weren't thinking, of a legacy, if they weren't thinking of their son and seeing that he, um, from pre-crisis, he was the first natural born Kryptonian in thousands of years. So that was something that they wanted to change, and that's what we're going to get into, is that they break tradition.
Exactly. And if only we knew of a certain other couple that we may or may not have based a podcast on that breaks tradition. Interesting. And by the way, Cameron brings up the animated series, he was a toddler. Yeah, that Superman the animated series is one of those shows where I have very little complaints about, because I feel like, yeah, they didn't obviously spend a lot of time on Krypton. However, at least it got its own episode though.
Right. And my whole thing about it, that throughout these decades, it took New 52 to really give Laura, a character of her own.
And oh boy, did she have a great one. I love it. And Jason Aaron brought that in with Absolute. So I really do like that. And then it's like the other thing, and I'll bring this up when we get to post-crisis, because yeah, they have, by the way, I love Cameron. So he goes, honestly, I like the idea that Clark grew up on Krypton for a while before having to be shit off. I mean, lift off. That's a hell of a typo, my friend. That's such a good one. No, that would be more like John Kent, right? Right, Britt?
That's right. Because, when Jurgens was coming up with the idea of John, he actually wanted John to have a super Clark origin, where he is rocketed from post-crisis Earth to New 52 Earth. And it's kind of like, you're really doing this in a contrived way. But yeah, that
Dan Jurgens contrived? No.
But yeah, the whole shitting up continuity and stuff is very much John's origin.
Exactly. All right. So now, okay, so we're going to start by talking about a couple that probably no one's ever heard of and that we certainly haven't talked about a lot. Superman and Wonder Woman. Yeah, it's not like we talk about this every single time we do a comparison.
Yeah, it's very unknown. People don't know about this couple.
It's not like they have a dope statue.
Right. And they should have another. They should actually have a whole line.
Yeah, you notice how there's barely any Superman and Lois statues. They exist, but there's not a lot.
It's not, and then it's just the same Captain Save-A-Thought.
It's like, look, I'm gonna. It's like they're like, okay, so we have like 80 like statues of Superman holding Lois like this. So what do we do to really challenge it? Let's have him hold her. Genius.
Exactly.
Genius. But yeah, but again, it's the breaking of tradition that Britt and I really want to emphasize with this, because again, when we get to Jor-El and Lara, they very much break tradition when it comes to what Krypton was like at the time when the planet was blowing up.
Right.
So let's get into Jor-El and Lara. So yeah, the new 52 version, which started in like Superman issue 0. I mean, we even have Jor-El imitating Superman's little punching toward the screen pose, which I like. And so they have gone. The thing about Jor-El and Lara is how, like, what's kind of funny about it is when you think about it, they're always with Clark. And what I mean by that is their legacy, as in Jor-El created the Phantom Zone and Lara played a role in the creation of Doomsday.
And I mean, the big, sign is having the whole Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah, that's true. And being able to have the AIs and stuff, which I love. I always love how Clark has the AIs that like he can like talk to an approximation of his parents. That I really enjoyed that. Now, I will say Superman and Lois did it great where the Eradicator is like this like repository of Kryptonian souls, and then he gets to talk to his mother one last time.
That's nice. I think that's the only scene that I would probably like from the show.
And by I mean the way like this way, ignore the end. It's like for most of it, it's actually pretty good, even though my problem with it, so they want to give Lois something more to do. So you know what they did? Remember that famous panel of All-Star Superman where he goes, "You are so much stronger than you think you are"? They gave that to Lois.
I mean,
Taladia and I were reacting to that episode live on his channel. Go check it out. And I was like, no way. Because that's like my favorite Superman moment ever. Besides him kicking Apollo's ass, that will always be number one.
They can't think of anything else for Lois, so of course she has to take other, scenes from whoever, you see in the animation from New Frontier to DC AMU. She takes lines and scenes from Diana all the time.
Yeah. And so what's interesting going on about Jor-El and Lara, you notice how the initiatives that give the Krypton stuff more emphasis balanced with the regular, with like Clark Kent. So it's not like they go totally in the alien part, but the parts that have the proper balance, those are the ones that fan base hates the most. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. And those are also the aspects of when he ends up with Diana too.
Isn't that funny? It's almost like, well, I don't know what it's like, but but I definitely like. And it's kind of funny with the new 52 Lara, she is pretty much a mirror of Diana. And we don't mean it like the way they try and do it with Lois, where it's like, you remind me of my mother. And I go, that's not good.
Your smile. When he said that Laura's smile reminds him of Lois's smile, and it was kind of like, no.
Seems a someone has an Oedipus complex.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can have like the same personality or whatever, the same certain mannerisms, or the fact that in New 52, Laura was a general. She was a fighter. She was side by side with Jor-El as a scientist too. Okay, well, mirror that with Diana being a fighter. She does. I would say that will be equivalent to the whole God of War thing. She wasn't so much a general, but she did control, the army and stuff like that.
Well, remember, they did I think it was a Future's End tie-in where Wonder Woman was like a general fighting against like this shadow army, and she had like all of the great generals from like history, and she was like, it's the same two issues where she becomes the goddess of peace.
Okay, so that goes, and being equal, having the voice and being side by side with Cal. So yeah, it is very much a mirror concept with Jor-El and Lara. Also, just the thing of sacrifice to again break traditions. And also, actually talking to Jid because he was going over pre-crisis, I think, or just sent a panel. But the fact of Cal's name, is meaning star child. Mm-hmm. So when you factor that in with Cal being named after the stars, but also his powers come from the biggest star of the sun, then you have Diana, where she is named after the moon goddess. So you have the sun and the stars. So those are, just spiritual connections and those deep cut details of why we love this pairing.
Yeah, exactly. So then we go to the similarities and differences, and I know I had to use. It's like there are a few of these images, like from My Adventure with Superman. I had to use Britt, particularly for the story, because they represented a lot of like similarities. So just bear with me. But the thing about it that I really like is, first off, it goes against the norms, obviously, and it's also like, I don't know what it is about the L men. They really are attracted to badass women.
I mean, if that's another thing, it's kind of like Yeah, when you have a fighter version of Laura,
Mhm.
then you have Cal more attracted to and, you know, truly pursuing Diana.
I would
But
love if there was like a scene where Jor-El met Cal, and then he sees like Diana fighting like parademons or something like that, and he sees her like take out an entire squadron of them, and he goes, "You've chosen well, my son."
right. Um, but the version of Laura when she's like mute
Hmm.
and just the well, I wouldn't say housewife, but yeah, in terms, she would be like the housewife and the sad, wife, mother, just crying on Jarrell's
The arm
shoulder.
candy, essentially.
Yeah, then he is more, you know, written to be with Lois, and it's kind of like, yeah, that goes with that because we have with Rebirth how you wanted that glorified housewife type storyline with Lois. But what did Tomasi say? Said that Diana, because she didn't have the Pulitzer, or because she wasn't baking pies, then that's why Clark didn't marry her, or that's why Lois is better than Martha because she baked pies, or something like that. Whatever. But just those types of things, you can definitely tell the mindset of the writer.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. So then we get to the core differences. Chief among them, Superman and Wonder Woman are alive. Jor-El and Lara are dead.
Well, that is number one, yes. But the difference is, like I said, is pretty much the way, you know, the perspective of Laura. You can get the mute, glorified housewife type, or you can get um the equal, the fighter. And also the fact that even though they did die, so of course they couldn't break up, it's still the fact that, they are this essential couple. And
Well, Britt, remember, new 52 Superman did die.
but Diane, well,
Through explosions,
technically
mind you.
you can say that New 52 Diana died too. So they do have that in common.
Ah, there you go. But then they were resurrected as a separate Earth. So isn't that funny?
Yeah. Kind of kind of terrible when you think about it, but that's
Yeah.
a whole nother. But yeah, then Jor-El and Laura are of the past, quote unquote. They, as you said, they kicked the bucket. So it's, but I would say that their impact is within the present if it is allowed to, um, and not be like, the recent movie where they wanted them basically be like space Nazis.
Space Nazis, I love that. Yeah, I'm like, what? When Gunn said that the reason why he did it is because he wanted his Superman to be different, I'm like, that's the reasoning?
Like, how is that? So he has to have the red granny panties. That is like, essential, I guess. He has to have the spit curl, you know, that's more important. Um,
He has to be married to Lois and stuff. I'm like, no,
or
you could change any of that, bro. But then
right,
you go, I'm gonna make Kryptonians Viltrumites.
right. I mean, and then the fact that you marketed this movie to be like, well, yeah, they did say the human way, so that was a big red flag of how
Mm-hmm.
you see that human superiority and stuff. So that was something. But it's the fact that you still brought up that Superman is an immigrant, and yet you
Mm-hmm.
demonized his um his heritage. Like, what, not clicking of how bad of an idea that was. And then
Mm-hmm.
you have it where some of the non-comic readers, when they go back and see like Jeff Johns or John Byrne or anything with Dan Jurgens, they feel justified. It's like, no, do you know how xenophobic and racist that is?
No, they
That's
don't.
And especially with Superman to be a man of two worlds, he is supposed to have balance. He isn't supposed to choose one over the other. And even if you want Clark Kent to be the real person, it's not that simple. Because if Clark Kent was the real person, he wouldn't have the powers. He really would be
He wouldn't be
Clark.
flying around with the Kryptonian logo for like hope on his chest.
What was so funny this past week was how people were saying that, well, he's changing the symbol. And it's like, okay, so
It was a Kadar.
does that mean that, if someone has some type of derogatory or whatever symbol, then they are changing the meaning of it? No, it's still going to be.
You still got to. I wonder if this is going to be Gunn changing the Superman logo to the more traditional S because of that.
Well, they said something like that but you will have to change Supergirl too.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, the other thing
And
is like,
Crypto.
by the way, fun fact: do you know where the Kryptonian is the S is the symbol for hope came from?
It came from the 78 movie, right?
Nope. It came from Man of Steel. It was the family crest in the 78 movie, but the fact that it was the Kryptonian logo for hope, that was Zack Snyder.
I see. Well, yeah, I mean, you've put this logo on merchandise, and but then in the movie you want to say that it is either just a symbol, or it doesn't make sense of how he's trying to portray this as something. And
Exactly.
you can't say that, oh, it's not the symbol of the House of L. He's still a L. It is.
He's called Kal-El.
Yeah, it really does not make sense. I think that Gunn really, he just wanted controversy and he didn't think it through.
Oh,
So
he definitely didn't think so. But Cameron says, I get James want to be different, but I do. But when people say Cornswear is the modern Christopher Reeves, is really that different? Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is, when you look at the movie, here's the reason why I don't like it when another Superman uses the 78 theme, like the John Williams theme. Because when you do that, you are only thinking of Christopher Reeve's Superman. Whereas with Henry Cavill, he has a very distinctive, like, musical, like, accompaniment. Whereas with anytime you use the dun 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 dun, you're thinking of one Superman.
I mean, essentially, that is all Superman is. You have that in comics too, where we couldn't have New 52. We had to go back to post-crisis.
Exactly. And so then we get to editorial and writer intentions. Well, if this wasn't a great like segue, so it's like what you have was it's like, so obviously Superman and Wonder Woman, we've said it many times, was a marketing gimmick. They've said it themselves. It was a very successful marketing gimmick. But then Charles Soule. See, here's the thing. It may have been a marketing gimmick, but I think Charles Soule is the writer who gave it legs.
I mean, all relationships, every storyline is a marketing gimmick. So I wouldn't say.
But it's like, instead of it being like straight up a gimmick and more of like, oh, this is actually something.
Well, Jim Lee said it was the status quo. It was, and I think that they wanted it to last. It was just the fact that having expectations, being lazy, having editors go back and forth, and wanting that to go back to, tradition, then yeah, it is the whole rewrite revisionist of being a marketing gimmick, but it wasn't that. It was the same basically of Jim Lee also saying that Superman would never have the red granny panties again, but yet here he is with them. And he said, when he who shall not be named number 5,000.
Did he have a crappy Superman run?
Yeah, he did.
Was his last name start with a B?
Well, that narrows it down to 2, Jared.
Okay, is his middle name Michael?
Yes.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
All right. So, when Jim Lee was being interviewed for that, he was saying, "Oh, Superman was always going to have the red granny panties back," and it was like, "No, because a few years ago you were saying this is the new Superman. He's going to, you know, be modernized and not have them." So that was the same with Clark and Diana's relationship. Is that was the new status quo going forward. But again, when you have editorial that caves, to fans talking on that Bird app or anywhere else, but they don't actually, support the books, then that is pretty much why they are in the predicament that they're in now.
Oh, and we'll talk about that in the last slide when we get to the sales. But oh boy, but it's like so you have that. Then you get to Jor-El and Lara, and here's the thing. It's like with Jor-El and Lara, again, that vacillates very distinctly. But again, it's one of those couples where it's like, no, they are together because here's the thing. Jor-El and Lara are the couples that have to be together because they kind of have an impact in the regular DC universe with who their son is.
Right. They do have to be together because they aren't going to they're going to procreate naturally and not have,
unless you're John Byrne.
Right. But other than that, you are going to have he wouldn't be Cal, Superman, or whatever if it weren't for them. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Even going back to that, even in the Golden Age, the Kents were not the Kents. They didn't have a last name. It wasn't Smallville or anything like that. And he was raised in an orphanage. They died before. He was also taken in by a motorcyclist. So even that is it hasn't been the same all the time, so I would say even with Tomorrowverse, when we had Earth 2 Superman, he was in an orphanage. He still became Superman. He still, was who he was supposed to be. So I would say that, yeah, the whole is a lot of misguidedness with how Superman's identity is handled.
And Andrew Medley with the $10 super chat says, no, the S didn't mean until 78. No, it didn't canon in the comics until Mark Waid. No, I'm fairly certain it wasn't this. With the 78 movie is when it was the House of L's crest. It wasn't the symbol for hope until Man of Steel, if I remember correctly. And Make It Hope. I assume on the MA series and did SSNL Silver. Oh, okay. Well, let me look that up real quick because I'm fairly certain. Where did the Superman logo first become the hope symbol? So let's see this. It was in Birthright that it was the Kryptonian logo for hope, and Snyder added that. Okay. My mistake. Again, unlike most of Twitter, when we make a mistake, we own it. Isn't that right, Britt?
True.
Exactly. So it's now here's the other thing about this is the thing about with the post-crisis thing is like, Britt, it's like the thing about it is, and again, Sam Liu said this on my show when he came on a while back. It's like, look, fans are always going to be married to the version of the character that they came into. That's why there's people, mostly older people, that are dug in and say that like post-crisis Superman is the only version of Superman. He must have the trunks. He must be married to Lois. He must have all this stuff. But then it's like, look at the modern fans. Most modern fans I talk to are like, I mean, I could see him being with Wonder Woman fine. I wouldn't be opposed to it. So I'm like, what are you going to do? And it's like, everyone, let me put it this way. I've talked to people, and again, it's just my own like experience. It's not necessarily like a full-on like a statistically significant survey, but it's like, look, most people think Superman and Wonder Woman have always been together. Just by the fact that, oh, Britt, guess what? It's obvious.
Yeah, and the fact that even that is made to be a bad thing, but so many of these other couples can be obvious, they can match, they can be in game, and it's not questioned. You know, look at Backhat, the whole discourse with that right now, because Bruce is with the
Doctor
the doctor.
lady that I think is a Matt Fraction invention.
Right. But I would say that the last issue was really cute with them, you know, and Selena is not her primary role is not to be the love interest like Lois.
Yeah,
You know,
she's not tied to it's like she has her own book, and by the way, her own book is great.
Yeah, so she is very much independent. You can go either way with Batcat. But the thing is, and of course this is He Who Shall Not Be Named 6000, that is ruining the Wonder Woman book. You know,
Okay. I know exactly who you're talking about now.
He made it seem like, you know, Batcat was supposed to be like Clovis. And
well, remember, Britt, what miniseries did he get after he was thrown off of Batman?
well, he did the Batcat miniseries. And it was, that was terrible. I would not use
trust me, that miniseries is
yeah, I would not use that to justify any, you know, whatever he was trying to.
The funny part about it is that when he did the double date issue, which was cringe as hell, but here's why it doesn't make sense. So they go to a carnival that you can only enter if you're a superhero. So they decide to switch costumes. So Lois wears, so Selena wears Lois's like dress.
Tacky.
That's not a costume.
It was a very tacky dress.
But Britt, it's not a superhero costume, and they let her in.
You know, because they want to say that Lois is a superhero, being that she is a journalist or whatever. So you just have to go with it, even though we don't. But
just go with it, people. I'm like, oh god damn, just stop with it. Just go with it. And Cameron says also, while I am Batcat, can we also say Selena would stay long term, given her history, at least, whichever version you go with? I would say that with Bruce, I think that she would stay long term because they understand each other ridiculously well.
Yeah, they do. It's just the fact that Selena is just so independent, though.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. Again, Catwoman is one of the characters that can, on her name alone, support her own book. As we saw, the book is almost at issue 80, or maybe even beyond that. So I'm like, and again, it's really, 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 really good. So it's like she has her own stuff. Granted, there have been bad Batcat books like Gotham War, but still, it's like few and far between books. Is like, yeah. So anyway, so then we get to fan receptions and the critical response. I mean, obviously, I'm sure the fan reception of SuperWonder was very, very kind, very non-toxic, and non-taken over by nostalgic twits.
Oh my God, that would be a utopia.
I'm sure you definitely have not received the N-word in DMs because of this.
I know. That, again, it would be a utopia if everyone got along, you know, with the whole kumbaya. But this is reality and we are in hell. So that's not reality.
I love the way you added that, Britt. You're like, yeah, this is reality and we're in hell.
We're not going to, you know, do the whole kumbaya thing because everyone feels like if you don't join my cult, then you are a disgrace, or, you know, you don't.
It's very much a cult. If they're saying if they're saying apologize and we will forgive you, yeah, that's a cult. That is very much a cult.
This parasocial behavior, I mean, again, with the Superman movie, it has really drawn a lot of crazy people. You had crazy people in this fandom for sure, but maybe it's the effects still of, you know, COVID, where people were at home, you know, and they didn't know how to socialize with people, and you are, hiding behind a computer. So you feel like you can talk shit.
Mhm.
Well, not all the time can you just sit there and talk like that, because you are going to come across somebody that will get back at you.
Yeah. Oh, and by the
So,
way, Cameron says SuperWonder is a power fantasy. Me, and that's bad because.
Cameron, the thing is, all superheroes are power fantasies.
Yeah,
You do,
and it's like, no, go ahead.
you don't have a billionaire dressed up as a bat acting like he's a like some dark ninja or whatever,
Or God.
or god, yes, and having these teenage boys running around with him in Robin suits. That's not a thing.
Yeah, it's like, and I said it last week, as a matter of fact, on the high school episode, which by the way has over 800 views. Has got I mentioned that the thing about that is because too many people are lazy enough that they just want regular, and that's what Chloe kind of is. It's regular. So then when you get to Super Wonder, it's something to aspire to, but people are too like complacent that they don't want to like go for it. And then Andrew says, problem: New 52 Lara has two careers. Grant and Scott. Give her a pre-crisis background or soldier. Well, yeah. Again, here's the problem with that. New 52 was very uncoordinated in that you had Grant Morrison that was writing 5 years in the past, and then at first George Perez that was writing in the present day. And the problem is Grant was not telling anyone what he was doing, and Perez, who is writing in the present, kind of has to know what Grant is doing.
Exactly. That's the whole thing of why New 52, it didn't fail financially, and then it it's a 50-50 on on the creative side. But it was miscommunication, because, as you said, they did not want to communicate. Everyone was being stubborn.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the thing. It didn't fail, but if you want to say it had severe it was hindered. It wasn't hindered by the creative choices. It was hindered by the editorial behind the scenes.
Right.
That's it. So, so with Jor-El and Lara, obviously it's like the couple for Superman and I almost said Superman and Wonder Woman for Superman's existence. Like I said before, they have to be together in order for Superman to exist. But it's kind of cool, and you also see like a lot of like. I always love when they do like background issues, like flashbacks to Krypton, and then you see like how Superman kind of lives out his like mother and father's like principles. And again, it was kind of cool is like with Superman here's the thing about this. Why New 52 Superman again is the best version of this character, because when you look at like what Jor-El and Lara have been in practically every version, I say practically every version, they have been, okay, you know what? Champions of the oppressed. They bucked the status quo. What did New 52 Britt?
Exactly. He was the champion of the oppressed.
It was constantly fighting against the status quo. That's partly why Jor-El ended up sending Clark to Earth, because he went to the Science Council and says, "Hey, a-holes, the planet's exploding."
Yeah, and they didn't listen, so that's basically like Earth's government. And you have the first issue of Action Comics where he is dangling a corrupt businessman or whatever off a balcony, and even that was met with backlash. And it's kind of like, okay, you have this bird out performative crowd where they talk about the government and the corruption and wanting things to change, wanting someone to stand up. But when you have that with these depicted with these fictional characters, it's like, oh, Superman is being mean, or he's being like Batman or something like that.
Have they not read Action Comics #1 from the 30s? He does a lot worse than some off a building.
No, they believe the character was created in 1986.
Ain't that the truth? So then you go to how these relationships speak to breaking tradition. Well, for one thing, Superman ain't with Lois when he's with Diana, and it's like it shows that that with Superman being with Wonder Woman, it breaks with the tradition that he has to pick be human or a Kryptonian. Because again, Britt, what's the B word that I always bring up with Diana and Superman?
Balance.
Exactly. Diana represent because again, Diana never makes him choose one or the other. She's always like, no, they're both an equally important part of you. Be whoever you are meant to be. Whereas with Lois, either directly or indirectly, basically tells him you have to choose humanity because Krypton doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly. I mean, Lois never calls him Cal. Or,
Yeah,
you know,
never. And Diana, no matter what anyone tells you, Diana, even in post-crisis, because there are some people that apparently think that she has never called him Clark. She does all the time. She calls him Kal-El and Clark. Now, it really is. It's dependent on the context. Obviously, in the Daily Planet, when she does want to out him as Superman, she's not going to walk in and say, "Oh, hey, Cal." She's going to call him Clark.
right. Okay. So how it seems, and maybe this is a headcanon, but honestly is very logical to the context of, the history between them. In pre-crisis, Cal was his name.
Mm-hmm.
Clark was the secret identity. It was just, for the public to know. But as Superman, most of the time, and it was to be Cal. That was the real him. He introduced himself as Cal. And even in DC Presents 32, when they were under Arrow's spell, Diana called him Cal, and he said, "Oh, you're calling me by that name, then it's getting, you're getting too close." So that is one thing. And in Post Crisis, she knew him by both Clark and Cal, but it was still within carried over from pre crisis that if you call him Cal, you're really close to him. And it it became like a endearment for Diana to call him Cal. You know, much better than the whole Smallville thing, where calling him Smallville is actually an insult, but they twisted it to make it some type of endearment. But you're still belittling him and insulting him in the fact that he's come from a small town. But
That's like me saying, "Hey, Hick."
yeah, that's basically what that is. So, yeah, Cal became, an endearment for Diana. And then New 52, they wanted her to call him Clark, which is fine, but I mean, I missed her calling him Cal. And even now, it's like that closeness, you can tell that they aren't close because she isn't, referring to him as Cal.
Exactly. So then you get to so now let's get to the history of Jor-El and Lara, because oh boy, do they have a history.
Right. So, of course, they are from the golden and early golden and silver age. Um, and this is, I, it's actually one fan that posts, a lot of golden age or silver age, pre-crisis Superman. And you see Laura is very active. She is still, I would say, a top student, top scientist, with Jor-El. So honestly, I would say her becoming the mute glorified housewife seemed to come, of course, from post-crisis.
Oh yeah, 100%. And see, here's the thing, and I'll get that. I'll elaborate more in the next slide. That's more onto what was the traditional way of writing sci-fi back then in the 80s when the Man of Steel series was coming out.
Very misogynistic.
Yeah,
But
I know.
but yeah, so again, pre-crisis, it was, of course, they emphasized on Jor-El first because it was a whole, you know, Superman's story being Moses, or they're trying to have him as space Jesus or something. So, you know, the father, the son, and well, the spirit of Krypton, that whole thing going on with Jor-El. And then you have Laura um appear in 1945. So it was an imbalance, but she did have an active role. Their relationship was pretty much, like supportive parents and spouses. They, again, I really want to see what run that was from, but it was from the perspective of Jor-El, but it did emphasize that Laura was, still had an active role as a scientist.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then you get to post-crisis. Now, here's the thing about post-crisis Superman. I want to be clear about this. All right. So the traditional way of writing sci-fi, here's what I mean by that. Back then, when you looked at like other planets or like aliens from other worlds, they were the traditional like cold and emotionless like depiction. So that's kind of where they go from. The other thing is that we didn't really get a lot of Lara or in like post-crisis.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right.
I
Even
will
in
say though, they fixed it with Birthright. Thank you, Mark Wade. Where again, it starts where they send him to Earth. They at first say we'll never know if he made it, and then I love it, the book ends with Clark being able to send a message back through time that says, "Mom, Dad, I made it," so they can die knowing he does get to Earth.
And that pretty much inspired the crossover story.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so I would say in animes, when you have that whole alien invasion or something like that, it actually was a maybe it was on Netflix or something like that. But the aliens, take over Earth, and they want to understand, human life and like the emotions or something like that. And it does make it seem like only humans know how to love, know how to be sad, know how to communicate with some type of reaction. Even Spock from Star Trek, the way he is. It's just a very xenophobic sentiment, though, because humans, first of all, not all humans act like they have emotions in the first place.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Very cold-hearted, very evil, very, if every human had a heart or some type, we wouldn't have wars, we wouldn't have murder, we wouldn't have, these sort of things happening if it wasn't for that. So to gear any type of unemotional, depiction from, life forms outside of Earth, I don't know. It's just an insult. Every life that has meaning is something within that is beautiful, and all life should be treated, beautifully. I just don't agree with that whole thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying this is the context. And by Andrew with a $2 super chat says, actually she was a librarian in post-crisis. She was? Interesting. I'm like, okay, but it's like it's a get. I thought you said post-crisis. But it's like I still prefer her being a general over that, because it's just, and particularly knowing that she may have been one of the creative minds behind like Doomsday. That's what I mean. But that's why I titled at least the thumbnail, "The Legacy of Krypton," because if you look at like their legacy, it's more than just Superman.
Right. Even if she was a librarian, I would say that could help.
I mean, Clark is a knowledgeable individual.
Right. So even that, I would much rather have her any type of, you know, activism with, her intelligence and knowing that she's independent somehow, instead of just the mute housewife that we see her, when they give the elves that bit of 5 minutes before Krypton is destroyed.
I'll give you that. That's a good one. So then we get to the peak, Jor-El and Lara. New 52. Big surprise that New 52 led to the best versions of these characters. Huh.
Right. We also get the Secret Origins book, where it gives you more the perspective of Laura and Martha, but to really see how, both mothers are important and impact, who Cal and Clark is.
Right.
And
I love the image on the right of her like on the hover scooter while Clark is in the little front carrier and he's like,
exactly,
yay!
These kind of moments we can see, it doesn't matter if he's 3, 5 years old or whatever, or if he is like the absolute version and 12 or 13. Just give us a little bit of the elves, that they weren't the cold-hearted, unemotional space Nazis that Gunn is portraying them as. They do have a lot of history of love, and their reasoning for trying to save their son. It goes back to the allegory of Superman being like Moses. He is to be the savior. He is to guide the people. He is to help for other worlds not to end up like Krypton. So for Gunn to take that whole thing and twist it around, I really hope that in Man of Tomorrow that it is some type of change there. Like, he takes the feedback.
Eventually, I'm starting to feel like he will eventually, because no one likes that change.
Yeah,
except for him.
I would think that he would change that.
But you know what's kind of funny? I watched the Honest trailer for his Superman movie. And you know, it's one of the jokes they keep saying. It's not nepotism if you run the company.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, obviously they're playing a joke on his thing being that. Also, I love New 52 Crypto is a freaking wolf.
Exactly. Like, I get it. You want him to be a regular dog to fit in or
How
whatever.
could you not like this?
But I don't care. I want the big dire wolf, puppy. Like, he was so big and fluffy and acted like he was like a little chihuahua or something, or a Yorkie, even being the size of a Great Dane. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the coolest things. She didn't create Doomsday's Idol. Pretty sure there was one version, Andrew, of Lara that was at least partly behind Doomsday or something behind that. So I'm gonna hang on to that. But so then we get to all right. I added this slide independently, Britt.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Knights of Steel.
Why?
Because this is another depiction of Jor-El and Lara. So here's the thing about this. How much do you know about the story of Jor-El and Lara in this?
None.
Okay, so here's what happens in this. And this is yet another reason why Tom Taylor should not write Superman. So in this,
I don't even know why you added it, because I did not add.
I wanted to rant about you. Any
terrible depiction is another.
You had post-crisis. What are you talking about? No terrible versions.
I mean, post-crisis, we're stuck in post-crisis right now, so I had to add it.
Hey, what's up, Luffy? So anyway, in this version, Jor-El and Lara show up on Earth together. They fled Krypton as Lara was pregnant, so she lands, gives birth to Cal, and then they lay low at first, and then there was like a volcano that's going to take out the Kingdom of the Waynes. So Jor-El and Lara save them. So they're hailed as heroes and stuff. So they become like the royal advisors and very close friends. So then, and Tom Taylor has this genius idea, genius, where so Bruce Wayne is actually Clark Kent's brother because Jor-El and Martha Wayne had an affair. That explains why Batman has Kryptonian powers as well. And then Jor-El is shot in the eye by Green Arrow and killed. And then Lara becomes like the queen. And then she, Hippolyta, Black Lightning's family, I think Poison Ivy and Waller create the Justice League. That silence is all I need.
That is awful.
I know. He lost me at the affair just because you wanted to give Bruce Kryptonian powers.
I mean, so
to be clear, here's the thing. It is part of a character arc where it's like metahumans are hunted because they're like witches, if you will, by Bruce, but then he discovers he's one of them. I get that, but it's like, that's the way you give him powers?
I mean, so you basically made him a Witcher?
Yeah, exactly. He basically turned him into the Witcher, but then if the Witcher later discovered that the monsters were the good guys. Honestly, at the minute you show me the affair, I'm like, oh my god.
And then you have Kara as his younger sister.
No, Britt, it's Zala.
It's Kara.
He can say whatever he wants. It's Kara.
Exactly.
Unless Kara exists in this universe, that's Kara.
Yes. I mean, down to her design, that is Kara.
Yeah, you only did that so you can have a ship of Diana and Kara, and then Gene Bond art says typical anti-white narrative. What do you mean? I don't get that. Anyway, and Cameron brings up a good point. Thank God this was an Elseworlds. I mean, it kind of has to be if they're in medieval times, but still, it's like, yeah, thank God it's an Elseworlds. But yeah, so then we get to the Absolute Universe. This is the best Lara we have had since New 52.
The fact that she creates the suit, and we see her in it, and we also see her as the leader, guiding the people, and just this was the best depiction. I would say she is neck and neck, but this edges out just a little bit, given that she made the suit, and that
not only the suit, the whole escape ship.
Yeah, she was, basically like an engineer too. So Aaron, I would say, did his big one right here. I'm kind of disappointed that you didn't have that continue that momentum, which we'll get into later. But this part was the best part.
Exactly. So then we get to depictions in other media. So this is another one that I added because I wanted to talk about the other ones, because you also had I was going to talk about DCAU, but we also had the Snyderverse Jor-El and Lara, which is one of the best depictions of these two. Compare Jor-El and Lara in the James Gunn movie to the one in the Snyder movie. Say what you want about Zack Snyder, but you had, first off, Russell Crowe playing Jor-El will never not be cool. But it's essentially him obviously Lara, you see in Lara's face the realization that I'm going to be separated from my kid forever because I'm going to die. And I love the image of her as Krypton blows up and she says, go find a better world, Cal. And it's even in the beginning of the movie, it starts off with Jor-El arguing with the Kryptonian Science Council saying, hey, you harvested the planet's core. Are you stupid? The planet's going to blow up. What are you doing? Oh, and by the way, you notice I put and Cameron caught on to this, I put the best version of Jor-El and Lara below the worst, because you also had My Adventure with Superman, where it's Viltrumite again.
Yeah, I just don't understand why you would change this core part of, of Cal, and it really gives off the xenophobic vibe because um the creator actually of My Adventures, she said that she loved John Byrne in Post Crisis and how he is Clark. So again, I don't understand why just because you want to emphasize on Clark, the Kents, and everything, you have to demonize still where he got his powers from, where he's still representing the L's. So how are you um having him wear the S shield or the House of El crest, but at the same time you're demonizing where he got the powers from, his purpose, um, and everything like that. It's counterproductive.
Yeah, exactly. And Andrew, I couldn't fit every depiction of Jor-El and Lara, so I picked like a bunch of them. And yeah, it doesn't work, Britt, because like the whole point is like the family is like, oh, hey, yeah, I know that, Andrew, and Barry, thank you for the $2 super chat, but they're still conquerors. That's the problem. They're still, I know, of course they care for their son, but they're still freaking conquerors. And that's the problem. I'm sure that James Gunn's Jor-El and Lara love Cal as well, but it's like the fact that he made them conquerors, that is kind of in a movie where they kept saying it's an immigrant story. You make the place he comes from straight up like conquering our wordists. What do you that want him to have a harem? What?
Right. And you have this whole thing that not only is it humans as in mortals, but also human American.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that was the problem with saying, truth, justice, and the human way. That was really just saying truth, justice, and the American way, because I think Peter Safran actually said that Superman is American. And the way he said it, it was like, okay, you're trying to beat people over the head with it. That is only Americans supposed to resonate with Superman? No, he is supposed to be a global icon. So
Even Anthony Mackie, when they were talking about the Captain America movie he was in, he goes, "You don't need to be an American to identify with Captain America."
right. But that is how they depict Superman and Wonder Woman, in,
Mhm.
in a way, especially with, again, He Who Shall Not Be Named 6,000, that has ruined her book, is they are these just, trapped in these American, tropes.
Now,
And they can
here's the
only
thing,
be,
though. Let's be fair. These characters are American inventions, and they were created for like patriotism. But here's the problem with that: you can go too far with this, and there's a lot of writers that do that. Tomasi is one of them. The current Wonder Woman writer, who sucks at writing Wonder Woman, is that. The thing is, what you need to understand about these characters, the nuance there is that take Superman. Superman is not supposed to be like America's all great. He's supposed to represent this is what America should be. Whether or not it's living up to those ideas nowadays is irrelevant. It's just he's based on the ideas that are set forth in the constitutional document of America, which is like truth, justice, pursuit of happiness, blah 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 blah. That's my point.
exactly. And we've went over this, I think, a few episodes back, that yeah, they are American, made characters, but it's just simply that they are supposed to be global. And their stories aren't just American stories. Diana, she comes from an island um that's in the Mediterranean. So that isn't and she comes to man's world America to learn of the culture, but not just American culture. She wants to learn of all cultures to bring people together, to understanding each other, to be in peace. And Cal, again, he is an allegory of Moses, that he is supposed to be the champion of the oppressed, not just for American people, but also, again, global. um in the New 52, we saw in, I think it was Justice League, uh, what was that? 12? No, that wasn't 12, 13, when Cal and Diana went to a foreign country to help the hostages. And Batman of course, written, as a mouthpiece for Jeff Johns, was that just because Diana said that she wanted to help, you know, get food and water and help, hostages, or especially the women and children, that the way she said it of, no one can stop us. It was in how Batman was like, if someone else heard you, they would think that you're being evil or something like that. It's like, no, why does it have to be evil? They can't stop her because that's what she is set out to do. She is using her power for good, but you do want to depict these characters as if they don't go by the accepted norm of American society, then they will turn evil. And then you had also fans calling Superman, just because he had that balance between Clark Kent and Kal, that he's just a battling alien.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big problem there. So then you have, it's like, but it's like when you have like other versions of the character, like let's say like Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Remember, my favorite part of that movie is not even like any of the action scenes, although Wonder Woman coming in and bodying Doomsday was nice. It was when the media is talking about Superman just intervening and he's just saving people. It doesn't matter what you do to him or what you think of him. Superman is going to save you no matter what. And regardless, I mean, here's the thing, Britt, you will love, there's this one episode of Superman and Lois where a general is upset that Superman saves a North Korean sub, and Superman goes, I'm not just gonna not save them because they're North Korean. And the general's like, well, are you loyal to America? And then Superman goes, I am loyal to the planet.
Right.
Well, he also clarifies, he goes, look, I was raised in America, of course, but it's like, I'm not just gonna let people die.
Exactly.
And honestly, that was a good depiction of that as well. That show should, except for the ending, deserves a lot more credit in my opinion. But it's like with Man of Steel, it's like, no, he doesn't. It essentially, what's kind of funny, the way I would describe Superman is like, I'm saving you, try and stop me.
Right, and there's really nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. He's supposed to save people. Even the DCAU, this is one of the few things they got were very right. Because if you watch the Superman animated series, first off, they don't push Clois, which is very nice. Even though they shot upon on his relationship with Diana, but that's a discussion for another stream. Actually, I think it's the first stream we had Jit on. No, it's the second one because the first one was on the Amazons. Anyway, it's like with this, it's like, no, he's going to save you no matter what, wherever you are. If you're in danger and Superman can get to you, he's going to save you regardless of your nationality, your race, your creed, what have you. But there are too many people that either think that Superman would not save like their political rivals or like people that disagree with them. And I'm like, then you clearly don't know who Superman is.
Right. But we don't want like the controversial canceled Trinity story where Clark and Diana were supposed to protect a hate-speaking bigot. There's a fine line between that, yeah, they are going to protect people, but at the same time, they're not going to...
Were people trying to attack this person, like physically attack this person?
They didn't have details on that, but it seemed like it was just, in a sense, protect their free speech, that they can say this and you can't stop them from saying it, which is still kind of like you're kind of going, it's again that is a tightrope, because
it's a very tightrope. Again, it's like, yeah, if you're being a dick and like saying like hurtful and hateful things, it's like, yeah, that's one thing, but it's like you can't attack someone physically for saying that.
Yeah, I feel like it must have been like a physical altercation or something.
That's where, you know what, I can buy. I would be okay with that.
I don't know, because if the person is, being a bigot and they are attacking the person or attacking people unprovoked, and
that's a different story. If the person's just talking and not like bothering anyone, but like is standing up there with a megaphone, let's say, And he's like, yes, he's saying horrible stuff, but as long as he's not like, let's say, going out and punching people, it's like, where do you draw the line there?
I mean, even if he's with a megaphone and spewing out hate, you still like, why would you even protect that though? Like that, I don't care if it is
Because
a
it's
free speech.
protected by the laws of the country, though. So that's the thing.
I mean, see, that is why you don't supposed to have any type of story like that. Because honestly, for me, if someone was having a microphone or megaphone or whatever and saying slurs, you are ready to pop off, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
So why is that okay why are you having a story where this person is saying slurs and you have the biggest, most influential superheroes protecting that?
Well, here's the thing. Let me put it this way. If I had to compromise on this, the way I would do it is like have Superman and Wonder Woman pick him up, bring him somewhere else and say, okay, sit here and think about what you've done. That's it. Just remove him from that scenario and just say you're done.
If that's a grown man, like he 40 or something, that sounds like they're talking to a teenager. Now that's
well, it's like, here's the thing, Britt. It's like, and you can have like them. You can have him say, "I'm not a child," and then Diana goes, "Then stop acting like."
I mean, I guess, but it's still a dumb, storyline.
It's a stupid story idea because honestly, there's a lot of nuance into that that's the problem when writers try and do like political stuff in books. They often either have to or inadvertently oversimplify things, and that leads to it loses all of the nuance of these discussions.
Honestly, it seemed like they were very much trying to put out a message that, even if someone is spewing out hateful slurs and stuff like that, you just have to take it. And, they are going to be protected by these big figures who, Superman and Wonder Woman are being projected to being. And that is a terrible, concept.
Yeah, and by the way, Cameron says, so would what Clark did, what Gunn do with Clark putting the leader against the cactus a bad call? Well, it's a different story when see, here's the thing about that. He did like do that to a leader of a foreign country. So it's like, I don't necessarily think it's a bad call. I just think it's a call that could lead to severe consequences. At the very least, in that movie, there were consequences. Granted, there were stupid consequences, but there are still consequences.
Yeah, I mean, they will have to go through things like that, have to make tough choices. That was the point of Kingdom Come. How it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't. If, Clark and Diana don't go in and save people from the like these dictatorships or something like that, then they aren't doing enough. They aren't doing their jobs as these global heroes. If they do, protect people, and like I said earlier, using Justice League, then they are seen as evil, or they are the ones seen as the dictators.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's a very, very, very small, a very slow tight walk there. But anyway, so it's like, the thing about this is like, again, the best versions of Super. See, here's the thing. Here's the other thing they could have. Here's how Gunn could have salvaged this. You or like made it so you still kind of have an idea about that. Here's what you do. You make Jor-El and Lara literally the only like two Kryptonians, if you have to, that besides Kara's parents, that aren't like dictators, something like that. They're trying to buck the system. Because the very fact that you made Jor-El and Lara the evil ones are my very, very, very intense issue with the My Adventures Superman show and the Superman movie.
Yeah, I feel like, that is one of Gunn's whole thing, is that the main protagonist being a man or whatever, they are going to have daddy issues. And the dad is
He
either,
always has daddy issues in his movies.
and the dad is like half evil or misunderstood or something like that. So that is the whole thing, he wanted for Superman. It's like, that is not Superman's story, you know. And again, the fact that you do have depictions like that in comics, he feels justified. But that is the thing. When those certain iterations are depicted, right off the bat, afterwards, other writers come in and try to clean up the mess that was made. Like with Byrne, as soon as he got off the books, they were trying to salvage, Superman's image. You did have, Dan Jurgens come and do more damage, after a while. But at the same time, it was like they wanted that balance between Krypton and Smallville.
Exactly, because they're both equally that. Now, with Jurgens, I can testify to that because I have the, again, definitive history of Superman book that you could probably kill someone with. It's that big. But Jurgens has said that the thing about it, when he was writing Superman, he wanted to rather like leave it as like that's the mythology of Clark's like ancestors and past, because he's like, if Superman came to Earth as a baby and had no memory of Krypton, but was all of a sudden like, because when you look at post-Crisis Superman, the Jor-El AI was like beamed into his mind. So it was like he was seeing like all these hallucinations. So he's like, why would Superman really care all that much about like Krypton stuff when he's like, I had no memory of the planet? That being said, I still don't like it because it's like, but you're dealing with a character that is a Moses allegory, and Moses still went back to get his people. So it's like
exactly.
the people were still part of this.
Right. They want space Jesus and the American Savior. They don't want the Moses allegory of him, embracing his roots and helping his people and being one with his people.
Well, let's talk about the Jesus story. Well, Jesus in the story of the Bible is is essentially God the Son who came to Earth to save his people. All of this, it's like he's saving his people. His people are part of this. Like, you're not even, it's not you, Britt. These people are not even getting the analogy.
No.
I'm like, the more these people give me these analogies, the more I'm like, yeah, but it's not. It's like you keep saying that word. I don't think you know what it means.
They don't.
They clearly don't, Britt. Trust me. So then we're going to get to the summary, and it's like Jor-El. See, here's the thing. You ever notice also how like another similarity actually with Jor-El and with Lara and Diana specifically is that depending on the writer, they will be subservient to the male in the book, like with Diana and Steve in this current run, or like Lara and Jor-El in the John Byrne book.
True. And you see how that it just doesn't become of the characters, especially Diana. That is the one thing that kind of confuses me with number 6000, because he had issue 8, which was Diana being, wrapped in the lasso of lies, and it was basically her nightmare to become a housewife. But yet you depict her as being coerced into creating this demon child for a man that she's not married to, she did not love until the prior issue before he died. So it's kind of like, why did you have this as a thing, to show like you're making fun of the feminist message that Wonder Woman is supposed to have. You are making fun of her independence, and it just shows how insecure some writers are when it comes to the independence of female characters.
Speaking of Trinity,
Hereby complete the mission of the Amazons by ridding this world of you forever.
had to. But it's like, yeah, even on that, it's like, look, when it's like, it's worse with Diana because it's like Diana is a symbol of feminist empowerment. And what did you do, Tom King?
You made her all about a man. And you said his name.
Remember, he's not on the list until he leaves the Wonder Woman book.
Still.
He should be, trust me. But it's like the point. Britt, the reason I can't do that is because if I put him on the list, I would be constantly playing the "Why did you say that name?" drop over and over and over the time to the point where I would get copyright dinged.
Let me see. You have to have him like a nickname or something. Then.
Whatever. The point is, everything she is motivated by is this dude. But anyway, it's like. So then we're going to talk about Superman, Wonder Woman, Love Beyond Time, which is very much reminiscent of an episode that Britt and I did a while back about JLA, Power and Glory.
Yes. So with that story, if you haven't read it, it's really good, actually. Mm-hmm. It is about the Kryptonian god Ra coming to Earth. And Cal is very, he's excited, to meet someone of his planet, especially a god, in a sense, to understand the history. And he feels like he has someone to help, spread a good message to help the people of Earth. And he also wanted for Diana, to meet Ra and learn more of Krypton too. So that little moment there, those little moments was really meaningful and cute because it really showed how Cal was so ingrained in his culture. And it really was because of the impact of Diana.
Yeah, exactly. And Clark had one of the coolest moments in that book where he's plugged into I think it was the Fortress Solitude, but he's being held prisoner by Ra, and then he seems to be struggling, and then Ra goes, "You can't escape," and the Superman's like, "Well, I'm not escaping, I'm flying." And it turns out he's flying the entire damn fortress ship into the moon, and I'm like, right. Oh god, that's so bad. New 52 Superman was a badass.
And then you have Diana reviving him with Zeus's bolt.
Yep, I'm like that. Well, if that isn't the biggest clear moment ever, it certainly is that. But yeah,
resuscitation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Lord knows she gives him plenty of mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I had to. So tell us about A Love Beyond Time, Britt.
Okay, so the core themes is basically legacy and stagnation, and that really, yeah.
Is one of them afterbirth?
No, it's a little meta commentary, but also just the fact of how, it is about traditional ways and how that will destroy, certain things, which Krypton is a victim to. Then you have equality and partnership, which this is the depiction of New 52, Superman and Wonder Woman, but also New 52 or Absolute, a mix, of Lara and Jor-El, breaking cycles of corruption, which again, Cal and Diana fight that every day on Earth. And then they, Jor-El and Lara trying to, help save Krypton and expose, the corruption on Krypton. Then Chosen Family and Inherited Hope is basically the whole thing that, Cal has made a life on Earth. He does have a chosen family. He's also ready to have a family with Diana. So he has that, but he also has the memory of his parents and also their hope that he will be safe, wherever he may land, that he will have happiness, he will have a family, and, he has that, basically that he lived. And then the last theme is love as strength, not a weakness. Basically going within Zod's from issue, what's that? 3, I think, when Zod asks Cal, "Where's Diana?" He says, "Where's the fierce one?" And he
Yeah.
says, he says, "You're just like your father. You like I'm strong or something." So, so it was basically that, these two Kryptonian men love these powerful women, and it's not a weakness for them to step back and let them do their thing. That they are these women that they love are natural leaders, and they
That's
will.
literally the line. Zod goes, where is your woman, the fierce one? I would like to know more of her. You did well there, Kal-El. Fiery, beautiful, beautiful. Nothing like a strong woman. Your father liked him strong as well. Liked him strong too.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, the owls have a type.
Yeah, it's like that was the thing. So that's pretty much the theme of going with that. But it's not as um it's much more loving than how Zod, said it, of course.
Unless there was Lois on the other end, there would be like, is that the best you can do?
Burn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to. And then Clark could go, why is she? And then Zod can go, you had an Amazonian princess, and instead you chose someone that dresses like a middle school teacher. to quote a certain co-host that's currently right there. It's so true, though.
I mean, honestly, the pencil skirt or like the bell-bottom pants or whatever, yeah, that's very much giving middle school teacher.
So, all right. So, Power and Glory. I was going to do like a portal opens picture, but this isn't exactly like a multiverse portal thing.
No, it's not. It is basically going to the past. So, Rao, how we start is basically you have Power and Glory up until when Cal begins to see him changing. And he finds out from Batman pretty much the whole plan that he has, which is turn Earth to a second attempt at Krypton for the Earth people to worship him, follow him, and everything like that. And essentially, if you go through that path, Earth will go to the same path as Krypton. So, of course, the Justice League has to do all that they can to stop that. And the only way they can stop that is going back to the past, to Krypton, to find this sort of uh, this piece of artifact that Laura and Jor-El was working on to bring it back to the future to defeat Rao. So we come so Act 1, you have you do have an energy ripple though, Jared. It might not be a portal, but it is an energy rip.
Yay! Comic books.
Right. I mean, that is how we have our crossovers. So as I said, Rao is worshipped. He is ruling a secret order on Krypton, or used to, and it is a shadow regime operated above the Science Council and the Military Guild, the hierarchy of Rao's crown. They believe Krypton destruction was not a failure, but a necessary cleansing. And Rao sees Earth as Krypton's second chance, a world to dominate, reshape, and rule. Its people reduced to followers under divine order. And that pretty much terrifies Clark because he feels like he's responsible. He was so excited, to have a piece of him, and he thought that this was going to be good and some type of goodness. And it also goes back to issue 1 of Superman and Wonder Woman, where Diana asks him, you have all these beautiful things in the fortress. can you share them? And he's very hesitant because he not educated enough on everything that's in the fortress, so he's just as afraid of it, but he's also just very skeptical of sharing it because he don't know how powerful the things are, and just don't know how to control it, and he just doesn't know what to share.
By the way, the other part that I really loved about Power and Glory, by the way, is when Clark was also so excited to share with Diana his god.
Exactly. So you have this where he is very guilty, that is basically turning upside down, which Diana obviously can understand because the gods, her gods are dysfunctional as well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you haven't seen that when Superman finally fights Rao. If I were doing this, I would have him say, "The last time I fought a god, I threw the sun god through a mountain. You're also a sun god. Oh boy."
Right. So, Diana, she is right there by his side, and she decides to go with him back to the past.
All right, and boom.
So, Act 2 is Krypton 7 days before the end. So Cal and Diana will be on Krypton for 7 days. They arrive on Krypton. Is very vibrant. It doesn't seem like it's being destroyed, but the core is very much cracking, and under pressure. Cal and Diana step forward, and Laura's the soldiers that she control or whatever, they see Cal and Diana as threats, from jump. But Cal is so excited to see his parents that he tells them, he says, "My name is Kal-El," and the room freezes. Um, they don't know exactly how to perceive them. They do think of them as the enemy. They want to attack them, but Cal is very persistent, and he says, "I'm your son." He hugs them, out of basically this impulse. And I wanted him to say something. I'm not sure what he says, but he says something. Maybe Laura,
In Kryptonian.
yeah, in Kryptonian, she used to say something to him as a baby, or it was inscribed somewhere, and he just kept it in his mind. So he says it, and that is when.
Ooh, I got it.
Mhm.
This is what we do. So let's say the House of El has like a crest, obviously, and that's the S symbol, but they also have a creed, if you will, that says the symbol of the House of El means hope. And wait, the symbol of the House of El means hope. What's this? What's the Man of Steel thing? Hang on. I can't believe I forgot this. Man of Steel, Jor-El speech. Okay, the system of the House of El means hope. And the fundamental part of that hope is hang on. Where was that in Man of Steel? The symbol of the House of El means hope, and the apologies, but there's like something. There was like, it's that Man of Steel speech that I love so much that you even put in my 5-year video. It's symbol of the House of El means hope. Symbol of the House of El means hope. Man of Steel. Where is that speech? Come on, give me the speech. Give me the speech. Okay, here we go. So here's what he says. In Kryptonian, mind you, the symbol of the House of El means hope. Embodied within that hope is the fundamental belief in the potential of every person to be a force for good.
So with him reciting that, honestly, that is the only thing that a member of the House of El would recite.
Yeah,
and
in Kryptonian again,
and would only know.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, they now believe him that they are his son. But also, I mean, the fact that he looks just like Jor-El too.
Yeah,
it's kind of
that's kind of a clue,
right? And then he, so Laura, she also clutches the cape, And it's like that is the blanket, of course, that he's, you know, um, made into the cape. And so they're just looking at him, studying him, and he they are proud already to see his, how much he's grown. Cal also sees um himself as a 3-year-old, and to see himself so innocent and to not know, obviously being a toddler, his life and what it will be, it does make him emotional. Laura, she is so proud and she says that, you lived, that you did find somewhere safe. So
Yeah,
yeah, this
exactly.
this little moment of this reunion is, I want it to be very emotional. And of course, we might use this, so I had to have the details. And
Yeah.
and also, Diana, she's respectfully standing behind, letting them have their moment until Cal reaches for her hand and he introduces her. Um, and Laura smiles and she says that she is your chosen. And Cal says yes, like without hesitation. She's also uh, Diana. She of course greets them and she says that she is honored to meet them. And Laura, she's already very impressed by Diana. And Jor-El, he is very proud and he sees, yeah, we both have the same mind, like father, like
Mm-hmm.
son.
Exactly.
So part 3 or
Okay,
act 3.
yeah, I'll get there. Right there. Hang on. And go.
Okay. So Act 3. So partners and warriors. Cal and Diana basically explain why they have come to the past. So Jor-El and Laura, of course, they understand and really, trust them to know the truth of what they're doing and um, how to stop Rao. So the hierarchy is accelerating Krypton's destruction in secret and attempting to silence Jor-El and Laura. They are wanting to kill them first.
So,
Um,
so, so you're telling me the hierarchy of power in Krypton is about to change? Barry Lord Zed. Hi guys, is Lois dead yet? Unfortunately not.
unfortunately,
Love you,
right.
Zed.
So Laura, she is um, basically coming up with a plan for everyone that is on their side to try to help. And this comes from a little inspiration from the absolute verse of trying to help, as many people off of Krypton as possible. In time of before the destruction.
Yeah. So, real quick, before we move on to Act 4, I want to tell you. So, you know what that image on the right is?
Yes, this is from an Elseworld or whatever, where Laura and Jor-El come to Earth.
Do you know how crazy that Earth gets?
I have heard a little bit, but I don't know if I want to know
So
the
they
details.
save the world so much that Green Lantern never gets his ring. Batman's parents never die. And at the end of the story, the Guardians are like, "What did you do?"
Wow, really?
Yeah, they become like the world's protectors. It's like Lara becomes like a celebrity and she's like going on talk shows and stuff. It's actually pretty cool stuff by Robert, and I did that on his show. And it's actually kind of, but it's like the idea of like, okay, so how much saving people is too much saving people? Because the Guardian's point is you screwed with fate.
Well, that is a question that was in Wonder Woman 800,
Mm-hmm.
where Cal says, that he has to let some suffering, some, disasters, not intentionally, but going from place to place so fast, or things, it people have to do things on their own, and you can't just help everyone, or you can't just do everything for everyone like that, because yeah, you will um start messing with fate or messing with Honestly, it will be like people are getting lazy. You know how people in the real world are so
So it's like
um
Wally.
that yeah.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, so yeah, it was a pretty dope Elseworlds, if I may say so myself. But anyway, so Act 4.
Oh, and it's also funny that
Oh yeah.
a lot of the covers for that story, I've
Mhm.
seen the covers, and it looks like Cal and Diana.
Yeah, I know. Laura even has the freaking bracers
Yes, that definitely looks like
and
them.
a tiara.
Right.
Oh, good. I never noticed that. Oh my god. It looks like Kingdom Come Wonder Woman with the
Yes.
sash in the front.
Yes.
Wow.
So for a moment, we're still on actor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So for a moment, they do have, of course, we have to have these quiet moments of, um, where Laura she asks Diana about the mascara and the Amazons, and Diana basically tells her about, you know, her mother, the world of the Amazons, their failures, their achievements, and everything. And Laura is very impressed and she's moved and she's basically saying that, your world has chosen progress. And, even though the Amazons have every right to stay isolated, they choose to, still continue on trying to integrate themselves, within the rest of the world. And that she feels that that's what Krypton should have been. So yeah, they both learn a lot from each other. And that plays on the similarities and differences, of course, that we've talked about earlier.
Exactly. So then, and
Yeah,
now on to
now
Act
act.
4? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, Lord Zaz, in reference to Lois still being alive, he goes, dang, I guess I'll keep praying for a downfall instead. Well, I'll be right there with you, brother. I'll be right there with you. Maybe she'll trip and fall one day.
Okay, so right before the battle, Jor-El pulls Cal to the side because he wants to have a conversation with his son. This is his moment to be the father that he wanted to be, to see his son. I would say this is New 52 ages, so Diana is 23, or yeah. Well, no, hold on.
Roughly there, yeah.
If they were like 5 years in, so Diana's actually 28 and Cal is 32.
Because
So
because she came to Man's World at 18, right?
yes, and they have a 5-year skip. They started dating at when she was 23, but with Rebirth starting, it was 5 years after that. So she was 28.
Yeah. Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
So they were
So we're in the paradise dimension where rebirth never occurred.
exactly.
Okay, cool.
So she's 28, he's 32. He's thinking about, the whole proposal thing and everything like that. So Jor-El reiterates how proud he is of him, and he notices that Cal looks at Diana how he looks at Laura. And he tells him, you're not alone. Even if you feel like you are, or, you know, um, you're not, because you do have Diana right by your side, and she wants to stay by your side. And Cal admits that he has this fear, that with Diana, with the fact that his world is, you know, um, going to cause or on the brink of causing his adoptive world to be destroyed, and that is also Diana's home. It's like, has he made a mistake? And that again comes from, I think that was issue 4 or 5, when Cal is kind of questioning, is our relationship, is it getting in the way of our jobs? Is it, hurting you or something like that? And Diana's like, no, if I thought that, we wouldn't be together, and we are each other's, shelter from the storm. So they have that moment. And so Jor-El says, strong women always, forces men, are the forces men like us need. And he says, stand with her and hold on to her.
Yeah, exactly. So I dig that a lot, and you could also like have Clark's. Jor-El and Lara say, "So how did you two meet?" And they go, "Well, Darkseid invaded, and I happened to be just like I was in the city protecting. All of a sudden, I hear creatures of evil back to Hades, and I look, and then she's over there swinging a sword, and then I'm like." And then Clark goes, "And what'd you say to her?" And then Clark goes, "I said you're strong." And then Jor-El goes, "That's it." And then Clark goes, "Hey, I had to think on my feet. All right, I just seen a hot Amazon murdering parademons."
Yeah, that would be so funny. Like,
Hire me, DC. I'll write these characters so well. Anyway, war against the hierarchy.
so the hierarchy strikes, and it's an elite army powered by Rao's tech and on Jor-El's and Laura's base. The and with Jor-El and Lara, they have the Kryptonian rebels. They have and Clark and Diana fighting alongside them. So Diana leads the charge, of course. You have Kyle fighting basically as the proud son of the elves, Krypton's son. Regardless of anything, he is the son of the last son of Krypton, or the Krypton's son. You have Lara coordinating the battlefield tactics, and then you have Jor-El hijacking the global communication, Krypton's communication systems. So the truth is broadcasted across Krypton of how the hierarchy engineered the collapse. Rao was never salvation. The faith was weaponized. And with seeing all of that information, it does give the people like this panic, this realization and everything. The hierarchy does fall, but Krypton's core is already destabilized, so it's basically still too late to save it.
Yeah, exactly. So then the last goodbye.
So the last goodbye.
Again, I apologize for having to use my adventures with Superman images.
I know. It's okay. I'll let you. You can have a pass this time. So the evacuations are impossible. The time is fracturing around Cal and Diana. It's kind of like if they don't get out, in even with a smidge of any change, their future or their time, of course, will change. So Lara embraces Diana and she tells her, thank you for loving him, and he has a home now, not only Earth, but with you. Jor-El, he has this remark, and he says to Cal, he thanks him for giving them the last gift of reassurance that he is safe, and he does have a home, but also letting them meet their daughter-in-law.
Exactly.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Cal is kind of like, that wasn't supposed to be said out loud, but
oh yeah. Folks like
So Diana, she knows Cal's, his nervousness, so she just blushes and doesn't say anything. But it is in the back of her mind of, why would Jor-El say that? And as time, pulls Cal and Diana away, they are able to see the final moments where Jor-El and Lara is saying goodbye to baby Cal, and when the rocket launches and they say I love you, not only do they say I love you to baby Cal, but they also say it to future Cal. And again, Jor-El tells him that he is proud of him and everything. He does see the explosion and everything, which kind of traumatized him, so he does collapse in Diana's arms and cries. So that goes back to Wonder Woman 175 scene.
Well, yeah, and it's also like very much seems like an homage to the birthright scene where he's like, essentially they know he made it.
Exactly.
which I always love that scene. So then we get to the fall of Rao.
So this is where basically we go back to Power and Glory, that whole scene of Rao attacking Earth, and it's basically like a apocalypse, battleground. But Cal and Diana are there to stop him. Cal is he wants to sacrifice himself. So he has this moment where he thinks he has to, for a moment. And Diana is still right there with him. And she's like, whatever happens, happens. They have their moment to say, I love you. And his lifeless body falls. Just again, like in issue 9 of Power and Glory, Diana does revive him, and she she says, you're back. He says, I heard you. And of course, Diana, she was not going to let him die. They give Rao basically the final blow together.
I love they do like they both it kind of like in Justice League War when they both charge Darkseid and both like go in for a punch.
Exactly.
They call that move the SuperWonder. Message to the world. I had to.
So days later, here's Superman and Wonder Woman and also the Justice League are telling Earth, having this press conference. And this is basically, think of the Heroes in Crisis scene where Clark and Diana are together addressing.
Only not written by Tom King.
Exactly. It's written by us. And so he basically says that Krypton wasn't perfect. And like Earth, it's not perfect and it does struggle with corruption. But his parents fought to make it better, and he will ensure that Earth does not repeat Krypton's mistakes. He also promises that one day he will share Krypton's history and, obviously things that aren't dangerous that can be shared.
Mm-hmm.
And he is guided and influenced by Diana, along with her sharing, things about the mascara. So they hold hands, have this moment that, of course, everyone knows that they are together.
Sweet. So then you get to the epilogue.
So in the Fortress of Solitude, Cal is standing before the statues.
Wait. Cameron has a great idea. Before they leave, if it's possible, they still get a picture of them together that Clark frames in the fortress.
That's cute.
That is great. Yeah, we'll do that. They snap a selfie. Okay, Drew's on. Hold this image. Hold this device real quick. What is this strange device of Earth? It's called a camera. Just press the button. And Clark goes, please hurry up. I don't have time to explain how a camera works.
Just press the button.
Yeah, exactly. Kalex, take a selfie. Anyway, continue.
You actually can have Kalex have it like
he's got a camera and then the picture prints out of him.
Or it's the same Kalex or whatever it's in basically like an imprint within Jor-El's journals. Mm-hmm. So it goes within Jor-El's journals.
And yeah, because it's time travel. That works.
Right. So yeah, definitely can have that. But the epilogue, so Cal is before the statues and he's nervous. Diana joins him, asking him, is he okay and everything. And he's like, he has to tell Diana something important. He talks about meeting his parents. He talks about his life on Earth and how it really has become something unexpected. And, his love for Diana and also his faith in her, that, yeah, Rao was a disappointment, but he is still proud of Krypton because of his parents. And yes, that is a remark on James Gunn. So again, having Diana by his side changes so much for the better. So he kneels, ready to propose. The engagement ring is Laura's Kryptonian crystal fused with Martha's engagement ring. So
Oh,
it's
that's
something.
great.
It's
So
basically
it's balance.
yes. So it's basically from the past, and from both of his worlds to create something new. Yeah, and as you said, it's a balance. Um, and of course, Diana says yes. They have their happy moment, the kiss and everything. The end. Until, of course, we probably have part 2 of the story.
Oh, we definitely will. So yeah, that was awesome, and that's the thing that I love about working with Britt is like we know how to take the because again I say this again, the Shelterverse started because we literally were pissed off about Superman's sacrifice, and we're like, here's how it would actually happen if the story was not contrived. So we get that, and inevitably we will do Immortal Beloved. I'm sure we will. I mean, there's so many fiction writers that have done that. I've read a bunch of them. Shout out to Hellacre. But it's like it's not, it's cool seeing that we can like bring in all these different elements but still keep the core of what like Power and Glory is.
Exactly. I mean, we're just giving it a little bit more detail that's really needed, because I think that Power and Glory was really supposed to be like 15 issues, but it was reduced, and then it was supposed to be 12, but those issues were canceled again. You were supposed to have like some type of future, and that's why a lot of people think that his Justice League from Rebirth, the legacy story, because let me see. I know one story was going to the future to meet like some Justice League kids or something, or to see what their future would be, and it implied kids. So that is why this story comes from the legacy story. It made sense that Hunter would be New 52 version of Cal and Diana's son.
Yeah,
And also the
exactly.
fact that he did say that he said something about like Hunter's origin was edited. So it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious he was supposed to be their son.
Yeah, well, and also add on to the fact that how many times do we see the rumor that like like Superman that like Donna Troy was originally supposed to be the daughter of Superman and Wonder Woman.
Exactly.
And by the way, Lord Zed asked for, can you recommend some fanfics that rewrote Immortal Beloved? Well, there is one that I'm trying to find. Did you ever do one?
No.
I'm making that a request. So, because it's Orchids and Fire by Hellacre 13. That was a really good one. That was like one of the first ones of theirs that I did. But yes, Britt, you of all people need to do that, and maybe team up with a certain individual that's in a camera above you.
Yeah.
Because there's so much we can do about that. Talk after the stream for sure. But yeah, so great story, 10 out of 10, amazing. It's really, by the way, so for my image choices, I want, because of like it was the wedding and stuff, I figured it would be poetic if I chose the image of like Justice League 12. And it's like what's kind of cool what you could do, end it with it with like the Dark Knight Returns where she says, Clark, the earth moved. It doesn't actually move, but that's like Diana essentially saying that like her entire paradigm just changed. Like the fact that she just got proposed to by Superman.
Oh, okay.
Not that. I don't mean Dark Knight 2 in that way.
Well, you said it.
I don't mean it that way, woman. Jeez. Why can't I ever use an analogy with you?
Because sometimes I take stuff too literally.
It's all good. It's one of the things I love about you. So anyway, then we go to, tell me about Green Lantern 11.
All right. So we continue on with a very fantastic cinematic-esque story with Green Lanterns. And I'm telling you, the artwork of this,
Dramatico.
if they are to do an animated Green Lantern show again, not the My Adventures, but based on Hal Jordan, this artwork needs to be the influence, because it
Hmm.
is so like glossy. Even with reading digital, it is so it stands out so much like 3D art. Um
The pink glow around like Carol per se.
yes. So the first bullet point, it explores, Hal's efforts to expose corruption from in the United Planets and reestablish the Green Lantern Corps. Excuse me.
So good.
And and this is pretty much advancing the main plot points that, last week I was saying it's a little slow. Glacier Place a little bit is more of setups. Well, this time he is now going full force on trying to get this story going a little bit more.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where I like, so with this issue, I title it Fate because it's showing again that like Hal and Carol have always been like that, those two people together, even as kids.
Right. So you get to Carol's subplot, and she is now in her emotions. And of course, being the star Sapphire, that is really going into um how she makes her life decisions. And I believe she does have a boyfriend, and
Yeah.
who she's proposed, well, engaged to, or if he is going to, propose to her or something. So
I think either this is when they say let's get married in this issue, or it's like in a previous one she says fiance. I'm fairly certain they were engaged at one point in this run.
yeah, so she's very conflicted with, you know, what she's going to do and how she feels, whether she is going to pursue another relationship with Hal, or, finally let it go. Um, Obviously it's not going to be let go, but
Hmm.
you need the drama. So you do have this offbeat backup with Guy Gardner and Lobo still, or the impersonator still. Um,
Because
it's
what was happening at the time, Britt, was also the House of Brainiac event that was going to lead into Absolute Power. So that's where the Lobo Guy Gardner story is happening.
because I was kind of like, it's so distant from the story. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, why is this a thing in this book? But it's fun, with Guy and Lobo. It's just not actually, it doesn't go within the flow of the Green Lantern's book,
Hence
though.
why it's a backup.
I mean, they need to have backups that actually make sense.
Oh, that's true, but it's tying it out into that. But yeah, but it's like this is the point where the plot really picks up, and again, it's like the way that Adams balances emotions and does like all these different subplots really well in the book, because you have the Hal and Carol thing that eventually converge, and it's like, this is really, really, really well done. But and I
Right.
love where it ends with the ring coming to her, because and again, the ring only comes if an individual has great love in their heart. So of course it comes to her because no matter what, she is still very much in love with Hal Jordan.
Right.
So how would you rate this issue?
I would give this a 9 out of 10.
Ooh, it's your first 9 in a while.
Because it really, of course, I love character work. I love when it goes to the deep dive of feelings, emotions, and especially with giving Carol a little bit more to do, or, a little bit more character study for her, and just showing how trying to fight against the corruption of the United Planets.
Hell
So yeah, I would say if the book remain, you know, in this pace and have this sort of with the plot line really of Carol and getting into her mind, that is the one thing that some writers struggle with getting into the mind of the female character. And she becomes more so of an accessory or a plot device for the male. But if you have, Carol, she is an independent character, just like Selena, just like Diana. So you need to have that for her. And I feel like that is what Jeremy is sort of building up, is that Carol is Star Sapphire. She is her own character. And we get that too in Justice League a little bit.
A little bit. But, and by the way, Carol, to that, I want to, this isn't a spoiler, but I'm going to tell you, she very much becomes a co-lead of this book.
Well, you're going to have probably some 9s out of 10s for the rest of the time.
Oh, and the stuff he does, he makes Carol a freaking badass and again, if you like how the way he writes Hal and Carol in the comics, in the original Green Lantern animated series, it's that.
Interesting.
We may have to watch that at some point.
Yeah.
So speaking of character work, okay, Bomb Queen 11. This issue's awesome because this is where they reveal, okay, you know why the city is a complete and utter hellhole? Because it's essentially a penal colony. Essentially, the government just puts all of their worst criminals there. Because I'm wondering, why the hell are they with all the stuff that happens in this city, in the background stuff? Why is the government allowing this to happen? But then it's like, oh, wait a minute. Because it's intended to be a prison colony, and like Bomb Queen is like essentially the wardens and stuff, and there are all these different queens, and she's the last one. And as soon as I read that reveal, I'm like, okay, you got me. That is utterly amazing, the way that the way that is done really well. I also like how the like clone, because it's a teenager, is called Teen Queen, and I'm like, okay, that's very, very much like Teen Titans Z. And I also really like that the queens themselves are clones, so I'm like, that is actually really well done. I'm like, oh, I did not see that coming at all.
Right, I told you it will pick up to more serious plots, and it's not just this raunchiness. It's a story actually being told.
And I like it now because it's very much like not necessarily in that it's still raunchiness, but it's like it's very much not the focus of the series anymore, which I like. And it's like, oh wow, this is like the minute they said the whole place is a prison colony and she's a clone, I'm like, oh my gosh, mind blown. That is so well done. I love that. I'm giving this issue a 9 out of 10.
Wonderful.
So now we got to talk about some. All right, so this completed the third mini series of Bomb Queen. So it looks like I'm going on to 4th. So we'll see what happens with that. And again, it's very much. Now I see why Robert was telling me you got to read Bomb Queen. So I'm like, okay, thank you. And he can thank you for forcing me to read this series because it was your pick. So there you go. So I got to start thinking about the book that I'm going to make you read when this is when I complete when we're done here. It's probably going to be Superman Rebirth.
I will reach through this.
All of a sudden, I'll just have 2 hands strangling me. So now we have one more thing to talk about. DC sales. All right, so let's talk about this. So Wonder Woman. So let's start about this. Wonder Woman 28 is in 77th place. Trinity 6 is at 166, so it gained a little bit, probably because of the conclusion. Absolute Wonder Woman 15 is number 4, which I like that. More on that in a second, though. Absolute Superman number 14 is 11. Superman 33 is 29. A lot of it because it's KO tie-ins. Action Comics 1093 is 94. and Book of L4 is 192. The other part I want to add about this, Britt, do you know how well Absolute Wonder Woman Volume 1, the graphic novel, is selling?
Wasn't it rank 5?
It's still in number 4. And it came out months ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you look at the sales chart, the only Marvel book that was on that sales chart was Absolute, kind of Ultimate Spider-Man. But I'm like, we are at Marvel. When do you decide? Maybe we got to change things. But anyway, so it's like with DC sales, the thing about this, particularly with Wonder Woman, obviously we're talking about this. It's like, look, in all likelihood, this is probably brought up because it's the end of the Mouse Man arc. So again, and Trinity is the end of the Trinity thing. Then you also have the fact that it's most likely going into his final arc. So it's like, hey, we're in the home stretch, people, hopefully. But anyway, so Britt, what do you think of like these sales reports?
Well, obviously DC's main line is in the gutter, unless it is a KO tie-in. Other than that, this is very, again, it's disappointing. Absolute is still in its novelty, so it is what it is with that. That is what, carrying DC. I would say within the third year, as I've been saying, that is when you see the longevity of the Absolute verse. Book of L, for Kennedy, he's a nice guy and everything, is a good writer, but the fact that he kind of went out of his way to try to make this future for Future State, Superman with this basically being essayed by Cersei to have a son named the Red King or whatever. He wanted to create, Superman's future bloodline and just Space Zeus and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was very ambitious, but at the same time, it wasn't a Superman. And also, you're trying to mix in, a Conan type story and everything. Again, it can be interesting, but at the same time, he dragged it on for too long. And even this is trying to make the Future State characters a permanent thing when it's like Future State was already said to be an Elseworlds, or
essentially an Elseworlds. They labeled it a possible future.
Yeah, just like Trinity, she is labeled still as a possible future because
the only thing about Trinity is that she is born. That's the thing.
I mean, she's a baby, but you can get rid of the baby. And
there's any number of ways to time travel that they can eliminate this.
Yeah, honestly, the way King wrote this story, honestly, if you bring back Steve somehow, Trinity can't exist. Like, just the whole thing, if you're trying to prevent Matriarch from becoming who she is and doing this whole Days of Future Past type story, something has to change. So Trinity cannot exist.
Well, it's like the way that I would do it if I was told to retcon her out, I would just make it so at the end of Wonder War, they go back in time and they stop like Emily from like attacking that bar. What that leads to is that so Steve unfortunately is going to be alive, but Trinity has not existed because Diana, and also technically Steve does not get back with Diana because Tom King would not, that would be the end. And it's like, Diana is no longer distraught with grief, so she doesn't create Trinity. So it's like one of those two.
But also, we never get the explanation of why she attacked the bar.
Yeah, that's true. Before she shot in the head.
Yeah. And also, if he says that Matriarch and, or Liza and Lizzie is basically raised as sisters, how does she become Matriarch then?
Are you trying to say that Lizzie is also evil? I could believe that.
Yeah, she is the Chucky baby after all.
Lord Zed, oh my god. If I had to retcon Trinity, I'd use a wood chipper. It gets the job done. Love you, Zed. And by the way, all right, dude, this is for you.
Burn!
I should make more of those. There's so many more clips I need to make. But yeah, it's like that's the thing, and people are forgetting. So it's the most hilarious thing in the world. At the end of City of Bane, which is the end of his Batman run, they literally set it up where Bruce and Selina are a couple. They're like all in love and stuff. Literally, the next issue, the first issue of the Tynion run, is they're broken up. She's in a sexual relationship with someone else, and he's depressed.
Exactly.
I'm like, wait, what happened here?
So it's very possible that as soon as King is off the book, there will be a status quo change.
Oh yeah, and here's the thing about it. Here's the other like idea here is that there's not much that they have to reference, because like even if they do the time travel thing and they stop Emily and they can say, well, the Sovereign still exists, does he? No one's gonna reference that there's a secret King of America.
I mean, no one references any of the current Wonder Woman, so...
All right. Hey, Barry, can you go back in time and save your mom again?
Yes, please.
Please do that. Please bring back the good continuity and wipe this thing off the face of the frick. Because you know why? Here's why even more I want a reboot. And this would be the most satisfying thing ever. Because if they do a reboot now, like hard reboot, it wipes out everything King has done at DC Comics, including the Supergirl book.
Right.
But it's like I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, guys, can we just for once get a Wonder Woman writer that respects her, like honestly Adams or like Kelly Thompson or any of those writers that we currently have? I'm like, guys, come on, it's not that hard.
Yeah, and it's not the fan favorite Rucka.
Yeah, it's. Trust me about that. Wait, did I forget to put in the Rucka thing? I think I forgot to put in the Rucka slides. But anyway, we could talk about that right now as well. So the thing about the Cheetah book is, okay, it's boring. It only exists in a certain state because Rucka wanted to be the one to fix to do like that arc of Cheetah. So first off, I'm gonna go with that. Second off, the funny part is that you have this character named Featherweight or something like that. Trans character. I say that because it's very important to what I'm about to say. Ruck is getting dragged because she is the snowflake in safe space type of parody of a trans character. It's essentially the equivalent of when a very socially conscious person tries to make a political message, but ends up coming off of that "hello fellow kids" meme.
Exactly. And the thing is, Rucka, the whole Cheetah thing, Rucka already did that in Rebirth. So he's basically rewriting Rucka is so stuck on rewriting past runs, he rewrote his own run.
Well, yeah, and the other thing about it, and you did include Absolute Superman. All right, but the other thing is, like, I will probably include that next week's notes. But anyway, it's like the other thing that you really get is like when the series before the series, Cheetah relatively had the bloodlust thing under control. Case in point, Diana trusted her to go capture someone. But it's like in the next one, she's struggling with it, and I'm like, this was undone. But it's like, oh no, because it wasn't done by Rucka. It's like, okay, I see what you're doing there.
It was done by him. It's just that he's repeating the same thing to make.
No, but wait, the curing of it came from. Wasn't there an issue? I believe that there is an image of it. I think it was in actually Clunrad, where Diana let Cheetah bite her hand and the blood kind of healed her. That's how she went from the more animalistic to the more like womanly Cheetah that we saw in like King's Run.
I mean, well, in that case, that means that Clunrad rewrote or wrote from Rucka then. Either way, Cheetah they want to make her sympathetic and she's not. Historically, who she is, she's an evil, heartless woman that wants power. She's jealous of Diana. She goes to Africa to gain power, from with the cheetah spirit. She is the one who corrupts the cheetah, not the other way around.
Exactly. Well, and remember, yeah. So it's like if she's the one that corrupted it, I'm like, that's. But but again, some writers don't ever want to have actual villains. They want to be like, oh no, and they're redeemed. Like, no, can we actually have some evil villains? Remember, she killed Aphrodite, and
Right.
granted, that may have been her acting more of a hero because it ended up in the G. Willow Wilson run of leading to Diane and Steve breaking up. So there was that. But it's like it's like the other thing about this series, but you know what's really stupid about it?
Everything.
Well, yeah, but so okay, so Britt, what were they breaking into the watchtower to steal?
The hell if I know.
Okay, so they're breaking in to steal the power bank thing that, like, you know how, like, they have that, oh, the Justice League powers can somehow be downloaded and then uploaded to people. So this is what the series does. The entire series, including when you're with the people in private when they're planning this, they make you think they're stealing the power bank. Then literally the last issue, they're like, no, we actually the actual plan the entire time was to steal these magical artifacts. And I go, you never had them say that. Even when they were planning it. What do you mean that's the plan?
But you also have them, like, the fact that Diana is so incompetent because of Cheetah. Like, you have literally the smartest people in the world, and they got duped by, like, some, I don't know, street level villains. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that should not have anything. And then again, you have Cheetah turning into a human person, which I think it's more like she's gonna be human, but she also has the Cheetah powers. But then I'm like, then she's not Cheetah. But then you get the other part where it's like, how much you want to bet Ruck is trying to do this because he's trying? Well, at the very least, Rucka at least acknowledged that Diana will never reciprocate Cheetah's feelings. So I'm like, thank you. How much you want to bet that was DC editorial saying, say this?
I mean, why would Diana reciprocate feelings from Cheetah when, first of all, again, she is the one who corrupted the Cheetah. And
Well, yeah,
also,
exactly.
historically, I mean, fans can ignore Perez if they want to, but her, origin is being like a racist colonizer.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of, not kind of, it is very weird.
Exactly. So let's talk about, let's briefly talk about the Wonder Woman rumors. It's like, the thing about it is he did say we're not getting any Wonder Woman casting news like this month. So, but it's like the very fact that it's gone, I'm still not convinced it's going to be Diana. I think it's more in line with it being, Maxima.
He said, someone asked, are you getting casting news this month, which is January?
Mm-hmm.
He said nope. So he has not denied that it's Diana. He hasn't confirmed nor denied it. Second, with more details of the description of who she is, that's Diana. Like, you can't say it's anyone else but her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no denying. So it is what it is with that.
Right.
Even I thought, it's a 50% chance that it would be Maxima, but the fact that it is supposed to be a leading female hero, Maxima,
Yeah,
she is kind of like an anti-hero, somewhat of an antagonist. So she's not a hero like Diana. And also, Man of Tomorrow is supposed to, or set up, let me see, Superman set up Supergirl. Man of Tomorrow, especially with the merger too, I'm guessing that with this film he wants to set up the rest of the verse, which is Wonder Woman, Justice League,
Batman.
Batman, I would say that he can be set up on his own because it's Batman. But also you have Reeves Batman coming at the same time as Man of Tomorrow. So it's kind of like Batman can be his own thing. But any other character that's, within this movie is definitely a setup. So it would make sense for it to be Diana.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. Now let's talk about Absolute Superman 15 again. This is on me. I forgot to. I didn't make the slides for this, but I have the suit here because that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about. Now, the other thing I do like seeing Absolute Superman flying around and like saving people, like even inhaling a fire, because I'm like, oh, that's actually really cool. But I get the criticism about the blue suit coming out of nowhere and stuff, but it's like at the
There's no excuse.
Now, trust me, I don't like the, hey, you want to buy a beer sometime, Lois? But, I mean, I'm fine with the blue suit and stuff. It's like, as long as it doesn't have the trunk. So that's like, that's the thing. Well, here's the thing. It's still a different suit from the overall, mainline granny panty suit and stuff. And you could say he's still being like the champion of the oppressed he was in season 1. He still has the dope ass cape. It's like the Clark Kent thing. I go back and forth on because it is kind of like maybe it just came out of nowhere. It's like forced in terms of like why all of a sudden is he like going by Clark Kent or him like doing the Clark Kent thing. So I could see that criticism.
It's very forced. It feels like, for him to have the blue suit is unnecessary. He could still have the black suit. I'm sorry, but that made the absolute aesthetic. There's no reason to have a blue suit at all. And it's also not made by the same material. So we don't really know how does this suit actually fare.
Actually, it's the same suit. What probably happened is because the black suit was like alive and could adapt, it probably adapted based on the suit that like the Kents gave him and just added blue in there.
Well, we didn't see that. You gave it more detail of like a, but we didn't see
that.
So
here's how I know it's the original suit. He has the dust cape.
Yeah, but it's still like, where did the blue come from? So you have to just think that it's the unfinished suit from Martha and Jonathan.
Well, here's the thing: if it was the unfinished suit, would the golden the glowing gauntlets and like the lines still be there?
Well, that's the thing. It's just so confusing because at the end it was like him having the suit, and then now he's adapted to having that same colored blue with this suit. It's just it's contrived.
What I think it's him honoring the Kents because they did like take him in and stuff. Granted, I do agree with you that like they went that like he bonded with the Kents way too fast. But I mean, here's the thing though. When you're like coming to a planet and you're scared and people take you in, of course you're gonna like bond with them and stuff. So I kind of understand where that's coming from.
That's true and all, but still, it's like, okay, you made, but it's not the same bond as him growing up with them. He only knew them for like a week.
Counterpoint, Britt. It could be that he adopted the blue suit after they like made that patchwork thing, and he like had the suit change. Yeah, what's up, Talati? I'm still alive, but it could be that like he did it. Now, granted, they probably have to say this, but it could be he did it just to keep reminding himself that there are good people on this earth, on this planet.
I mean, he's already living in their house and everything, so that will be a reminder too.
Granted, yes, but it could be like okay, I got nothing. Go ahead.
Exactly. And even with the Clark Kent name, it's like, okay, that was out of nowhere because it's not earned. You're just putting mainline tropes with Superman. It's showing that they're scared. They're scared to change Superman. And even though he basically dodged and did not answer Lana nor Lois, when they asked him out, it's still the fact that you're still doing the same thing. It's more like a Silver Age callback with them of trying to get, Superman's attention, but they are still placed as the potential love interest. And you also have you know, being in Metropolis, and Lois, she is now a journalist. It's like, can you do anything different from Superman? Can you actually have him, away from Metropolis, away from Smallville, and now he's like being a farmer. I understand that that does go with Krypton, so he knows the farm
This
work.
particular Krypton, I'm fine with that here because this particular Krypton, remember in issue 1, his family were farmers, even all the way back there.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. That does work to a certain extent, but it's still like you're trying to justify that of why you're going back to sort of the mainline feel. And honestly, if you're going to let him be on the farm, he did not have to have the Clark Kent name. He still did not have to have that. He can still be Cal, Yeah, so I guess you have to see, of course, continue reading or seeing what's going on, but it's still just like a dread of, will you basically get cold feet and just do the same thing with a younger Superman?
I understand that that's where like your concerns specifically are coming from because let me put it this way. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're more like, oh, are you gonna turn him into post-crisis Superman like you did New 52 Superman?
Exactly.
I'm still. It could be. It's just the eternal optimist in me. I'm still like. It's still the absolute universe is popular because it's different from the main line. So I don't think they'll go 100% that way. But then again, we'll see on that. So it's like, it could go either way on that. And trust me, I don't like that Lois even asked him out or anything like that. I'm like, oh, come on. Can we get one universe without that being teased? But it's like, I'll like... Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, remember, it's the beginning of a new phase of the series, so I'm like, let me see where this goes because it could be it gets really intense in this.
Yeah, it could.
As long as he's still like the champion of the oppressed and saving people, I'm fine with it.
Right.
So it's like, as long as this Superman does not all of a sudden go, America's awesome, then it's like, oh God.
Exactly.
That's like, oh, is Tomasi writing it?
Oh,
you can imagine that. Oh my gosh, watch the sales.
Dreadful.
Yeah, exactly. So that should be the slides we have. But anyway, and so we'll do a brief Q&A and then we'll wrap it up. You guys can ask us any SuperWonder related questions that you guys would like to know. But yeah, it's like, in terms of the absolute, but Britt, I am very happy that you're enjoying Green Lantern because one of the reasons why I assigned you that book is because I want to show you that like mainstream DC books do have some good stuff. You can argue it's like few and far between, or it doesn't involve Superman and Wonder Woman, but it's like there is some really good stuff coming out of DC.
Yeah, I mean that I would say that I am a little bit more open to things that's not Clark and Diana, especially not Clark. Diana, it depends for her. With King on her book, definitely not. But, any type of Elseworlds, I'm open for her. But other than that, it would be more of other characters and even other companies, like like Bomb Queen or Red Sonja or something like that.
Yeah, well, the other thing that like is there's like a lot of other really cool series. But by the way, so Britt, again, remember that that for the next 2 months we don't have King on Wonder Woman.
I would hope so.
So Yeah, so this coming issue of Wonder Woman and the next one are the Stephanie Williams issues. So pick up those issues.
Oh yeah, that does start this. Doesn't it start this month?
It starts this month. That is correct. Issues 29 and 30 are hers, and it's just about the Amazons. Granted, it's about the Amazons babysitting Trinity, but at the very least, it's not King.
Right.
The other thing, it's like with King admitting that he knows Trinity is like unlikable, and then the next arc is basically all adult Trinity. It makes me think that, let me put it this way, if he were a better writer, he would be like, okay, so how do I adjust? Like, is he going to like fix his writing style of the character to maybe go, okay, so let me see if I can have her go out on a high note. Or is he going to just go, oh, no, I'll just write it out?
Let me see. Well, I mean, he says that he has the voice and everything, but I doubt it. I mean, his whole thing is about just trying to make Trinity like, yeah. So Diana, you've had let's see, 20, well, let's minus Stephanie's, well, you've had 28 issues to get Diana's voice, and
you've failed every single issue at that.
Yeah, you failed. You've had miniseries with Trinity, and you failed massively. It wasn't even about mothers and daughters. Oh, his latest interview, even for him to say that you know, I don't think that we talked about this, but
okay.
So I'll run down the interview. So he says that all his teen girls are named or influenced by his daughter and niece, mostly his daughter. He says Lizzie is named after his niece, which kind of, ticked off his daughter. I guess he wanted I think his daughter's name is Claire. So if it was up to her, Lizzie would actually be Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Diana loves Steve because he is a rebel. They are both rebels in ways, but Steve is more because Diana is following a code, which I don't know what code that is. Steve is doing more by breaking his military code, being in a relationship with Diana.
That's breaking the military code. Wow.
Right. He shouldn't be involved with that, meaning Diana and her world, but the relationship is important. Pretty much glorifying Steve as more the hero because he is putting Diana first above the military, and it's kind of like, actually he isn't, because within the first story, Steve was used to try to have Diana back down, and he was glorifying the military. And also, if Steve was breaking his code of being in the military for Diana, he still wouldn't be in the military.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no code being broken. And also, there has been stories. I think it was that when they were doing like the Walmart stories,
mm-hmm.
where by the Harley Quinn writers. It was Wonder Woman Come Back to Me, and on the base, they had Steve and his friends talking about Diana and saying basically she was like a arm candy in a way. So yeah, Diana is very much the trophy for Steve as the military guy, the general, or the colonel, things like that. So no, there's no code being broken. It's really he's being glorified because he's a military guy, in a sense controlling Diana, who's this powerful woman and hero. So he continues to say that Steve adds chaos and messiness to Wonder Woman, which
I mean, he's not wrong there.
the way he means is that like the adventure and the drama and everything, which is a lie.
Oh, so you mean the way Jid means it?
Yeah. And that is perfect, and also with Steve being chaotic and messy, that makes Trinity chaotic and messy, and also she gets her rebelliousness and to defy things from Steve. She doesn't get that from Diana. Diana is the perfect one. She's also the one that lives by the code and follows orders.
Okay.
Which is still a lie, because Diana isn't rebellious in the way that he's trying to put it, but she doesn't take orders. Like, that's the reason
you
why.
literally said she's a rebel. He said that in like the first interviews he gave.
Right. He's
just trying to salvage Trinity. That's what he's doing.
He's trying to salvage Steve and glorify him too, as to make it seem like he's just this all, perfect soldier guy or whatever, that this generic action man, that Diana has fallen for. He also says that Steve tells Lizzie to break the rules in any way to bring him back, and nobody stays dead in the DCU. Trinity's book is about fathers and daughters, no mention of mothers.
Yeah, we could tell that.
He says that he loves Wonder Woman, and he loves writing the book. He loves Saint-Pierre as his partner, but it's a tether. Basically, like, he does have his limits, because it's an ongoing, it's mainline. So he has to stay honest, which again, he is not very honest at all with this book.
Well, you're not honest about your what your knowledge of Wonder Woman.
Right. So it doesn't scratch a particular itch he has for stuff that's weird and off center, and it's not moving the genre in a different space. And I'm kind of like, okay, Wonder Woman is the main character, or somewhat, that you can be weird and off center with, and you also can move the genre with her.
No, what he means is that I don't know what to do because I have no ideas.
Exactly. And lastly, he says that he wants to do something different, which is like the
that
Suicide
confirms
Squad.
the minute he starts talking about next projects. Hello.
Yes. So I would say, I think that, of course, he will want to use Wonder Woman's anniversary, which is in October, to
and here's
do
the
something.
Thing. People talking about Black and Gold, him writing a story. If anyone was writing the main Wonder Woman book at this point, they would be writing a Black and Gold story. That's nothing.
That's true. But it's still the fact that he has been given so much of Wonder Woman that it doesn't make sense. And again, this is her 85th anniversary year. So they are, or hopefully they care to give her, certain things, and he's going to be involved. I think that he's going to try to do all that he can to force Trinity, to force Steve, and it's going to be a terrible 85th.
Yeah, but it's like the very fact that he was talking about future projects or other projects he wants to do, that tells me he's not going to be on the book for that long, including when he has told people like Comic-Cons that like he's going to leave the book soon because because it's like taking up his space, and he's like in a transition to Hollywood. It's not going to be that much longer. Again, I would say 40, it would probably be the earliest he leaves if I were to guess.
I would hope so, which again is in October. So yeah, it should
that
be
would be particularly if you're going to start getting information about the Wonder Woman movie. And you could make it where like, okay, and his last like Wonder Woman piece of content is the black and gold thing. Okay, fine. Just leave
exactly.
it.
Right.
And then to quote one of the King Arthur movies, this will all be a bad memory.
I hope so.
Well, yeah, and then all they need to do is somehow retcon Trinity out, and then we can pretend this run literally never happened. It's like if Britt and I get on the book, we're like, let's contradict it to the point where there's no way it could have happened.
Right.
But anyway, that's going to be a fun. Oh, when he leaves, we pop this. Oh, when he leaves, we're going to be doing an emergency stream. And Britt, I will drag you onto the stream if I have to, because we will be celebrating. I will drive you, Jin, everyone that hated this run, and we're like, we're celebrating, people.
Right. Yeah, we will. We definitely will.
That may even be a Super Wonder episode in and of itself, so we can say it's finally over. But anyway, I think that's a good place to leave it. So, Britt, do you have any stories you want to tease us with?
All right. So, of course, chapter 3 of Odyssey, chapter 4 of Shelter, which is almost complete. We are going into the finishing up the holidays, so that coincides with that. And then chapter 5 will go into the second, holiday feel, or in a sense that springy fun time feel of Valentine's and, as I said, the spring. I also have the adoption story for Diana. Cal does play a crucial role of a father figure and an uncle, but also the romantic interest for Diana, of course. But it's very much a slow burn. Also have one shots, and I'm doing more Wonder Woman threads. So the first thread of the year will be me rebooting the Wonder Woman line with several book ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be posted either Tuesday or Wednesday. Probably Wednesday. And then I will post the next poll to choose which topic will be the next thread.
Hell yeah, I love that. So, and then as for Super Wonder, as for Amazon Answers, tomorrow, probably a little earlier than usual, but I will be discussing, I will be comparing Flashpoint Wonder Woman to Injustice Wonder Woman. Comics only, Britt, because Flashpoint Wonder Woman in the comics is awesome. Flashpoint Wonder Woman in the movie is horrible. I still will never forget that when I explained to you the actual Flashpoint Wonder Woman, you're like, why wasn't this in the movie?
And then the fact that Sam Liu actually explained it, it's like,
I don't think I ever asked him about Flashpoint, because I don't think he did it. I think that was Jay Oliva or someone else. But it's like, I understand that like they wanted to like simplify it because there's a lot of like other lore that you would have to put in there. But it's like, how about have Wonder Woman like say, okay, Arthur, can we not do this? Or have her not kill Shazam? Like she murders a child. That's a different Amazon that does that.
Yeah.
And it's clear it's not Diana in the book. So I'm like, she is repeatedly all the time saying, look, we are destroying the world, Arthur. And repeatedly, whenever she finds out that like she is that like what the Amazons may have gone beyond being like the good guys, she legit shuts them down and says, no, we are not like this. So I'm like, what? And then of course Jeff Johns carries it over in the Flashpoint in the Flashpoint Beyond, where he has Diana still be like a evil person, and like Batman's like, okay, so one of them's like, I assume you want me to stop my crusade against man's world, and Batman's like, no, just do whatever you want. I'm like, Mhm. Why is that movie being used as an indicator of Diana's character?
I guess I don't know, they just can't handle her being who she is.
Or, hear me out on this, Britt. This is going to be something really, really crazy that I've never said on the show before. You ready? Maybe they're lazy.
Yeah.
Because actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. Hang on for 1 second. How hard is this? All right. I'm going to take out the omnibus. Hang on for 1 second. How hard is this? All you do. Okay, so here's the Flashpoint omnibus. You open it up. You read the words. Oh, wow. This is really great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, you close the book. Put the book away. And then all you do is you write according to the book. If you can't fit all this backstory because there's like 2 or 3 series that address Flashpoint Wonder Woman, if you can't do that, simplify it. Have flashback, have like brief slideshow fast forwards if you need to. Do not make Wonder Woman evil.
Right.
That's a massive problem with that movie. But anyway, stay at work, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs with General Zod, or like in Krypton's core. Zois and Max are back for life. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.